Glass Onion is to mystery movies what Christian-themed Kirk Cameron movies are to family dramas. It's great if you've already bought into the primary beliefs held by the writers. It is f***ing painful if you haven't. I was really excited to see Glass Onion. I absolutely loved the 2019 installment, Knives Out. I thought it was a very well done movie. It was a surprising bit of suspense, drama, comedy, satire. It was well done. So I was so excited to see this one, I actually had my wife take me to see it on my birthday. Now, before we get into it, let's take a moment to appreciate this horrifying gift that my wife gave me because I made the mistake of telling her I'm a Nicolas Cage fan. This is a blanket I literally cannot sleep with because it'll give me nightmares. This is grotesque and it's amazing. Now, as I said before, I don't like to bury the lead. I did not like this movie in the slightest. There are a handful of redeeming things I can say about it, but overall as a movie, it failed miserably. And I have no idea where all the positive reviews are coming from because it seems to be rated just as high, if not higher, than the original. That makes absolutely no sense given the mechanics. So we're going to get into the synopsis, we'll talk about the characters and actors, and then I'm going to go down line by line about what fell apart about this movie. To start out the synopsis, it's about four main characters who are very eclectic, don't have a lot in common, except the fact that they are friends with a billionaire tech genius who is one of the most on-the-nose representations of a real character that I've ever seen in a movie. They might as well have put a name tag on his chest that said not Elon Musk. But anyways, he sends these ridiculous puzzle boxes to each of them. The opening montage is them having to work through it together over Skype during the pandemic shutdown. And eventually they open it up and they get their invites to this island in Greece where they're going to be exposed to a murder mystery party. Now, as they get ready to embark on the island, a couple of other characters show up and tension starts to build. The tech billionaire's former business partner, who he supposedly burned social network style, shows up and nobody has any idea why she's there, what her motives are. And also Detective Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, shows up and it's very quickly revealed that he wasn't specifically invited by the tech billionaire. So it raises a bunch of questions. What are they doing on this island? Is somebody out for one or more of the people? Is somebody trying to protect the tech billionaire? So it starts out with kind of an intriguing premise. The main problem is that you don't exist in the movie very long before you realize how long this journey is, how repetitive it is, and how poorly constructed it is. The movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes. It absolutely does not earn that runtime, and it takes absolutely forever to get started. It feels like an hour went by before the first murder happened, and I'll even go so far as to say that when the murder happened, I didn't really care. I was kind of checked out by that point. The film then ends up turning into one of the most convoluted stories I've ever seen presented on the big screen. The movie aims for twists and subtle sleight of hand, but instead it just gives us one of the most clunky, unreliable narrators I've ever seen in a film. The main template the movie uses is to give you an introduction to the characters, some dialogue, some interactions, and a few mysteries, and then to follow that up with repeated flashbacks of all of the exact same scenes, which just now happen to contain very vital dialogue and information that the movie intentionally kept from you in the beginning. It is not a fun or stimulating experience. It becomes obvious very quickly that you won't have any insight into the mystery just by watching the movie unfold. Your guesses are meaningless because you are waiting for the next scene, which includes the flashbacks to the things the movie intentionally kept from you. Now, doing this once is bad enough. The rule is a good mystery should be solvable. That doesn't mean that you're likely to figure it out before the big reveal at the end of the movie, but it does mean that all of the pieces in the movie fit together extremely well so that when you do get the big reveal at the end, you look back at the beginning in a completely different light. It's almost like the movie turns into a different picture. One of the best examples ever of this is Edward Norton in Fight Club. You spend the entire movie existing with him and the other characters, only to understand at the very end that him and Tyler Durden are actually the same character. When you look back at the entire movie, the whole thing not only makes sense, but it now appears like a different movie and you have to walk back through each scene with this new bit of information. And it's a very mind-blowing, stimulating experience. This movie just hits you over the head with the fact that they pulled one over on you, and it does it again and again and again. There's a point where it feels like the bully jokester who throws inexplicably harsh insults at you only to follow it up with a pat on the back and a "I'm joking," and then repeats the gag 10 or 11 times. You aren't even halfway through the movie before keeping track of the plot seems like a pointless endeavor. You realize that every scene you are watching just serves to prop up the next big reveal, the next thing that they didn't show you. Aren't they clever? Now, the second sin comes from absolutely wasting some of the best acting talent that has existed on the same screen at the same time. Edward Norton and Kate Hudson have been in so many movies I've enjoyed, and they haven't done much in the last 10 years or so, so I was really looking forward to them. I was also looking forward to Bautista and Catherine Hahn, who I think are both excellent comedic relief in the right roles. But the talent of this cast was squandered on cartoonishly written characters whose main role wasn't to further the plot or to build interest in the drama, but rather to serve as ham-fisted satire for types the writers obviously don't like. Edward Norton's tech billionaire, or as the critical drinker would say, not Elon Musk, was one of the worst fits I've ever seen. Norton's default is as the guy who knows something that the other people in the room don't. In Rounders and Fight Club, Red Dragon, The Score, his strongest performances are when he is portraying the person with the inside scoop. That same confidence and charisma bleeds through into this role, which makes the grand reveal at the end of how dumb the billionaire tech genius actually is fit like leather pants on a hot Thanksgiving day. Like, it is obviously the writer looking at Elon Musk through the camera and saying, "You're an idiot." It would seem like a weird, out-of-place choice for a movie to treat its characters like this until you climb into the minds of the creators and realize that the vehicle was driven heavily by ideology. The presence of the ideology isn't the sin. I don't know how any artist removes their perspective and biases from their work, and I'm not really sure that they should. Knives Out had it in spades, with the tension created by the overtly racist wealthy white family and the humble immigrant maid who was the obvious choice for the hero. But Knives Out was a damn good movie, and it wasn't good in spite of anything. The social commentary that so many would find obnoxious didn't exist at the expense of the story. It served to give the story shape, it assigned motives, built tension, kept you engaged. The story actually took priority. And the tone was right in that movie. Drama, tension, suspense, fear, it was never sacrificed for comedic relief. The reveals were moving because we had a reason to care by the time we got to them. Glass Onion uses the reveals the way bad horror movies use jump scares, the way each successive Fast and Furious movie uses car chases. Given this pattern, I fully suspect the next installment of the Knives Out franchise is going to be 100% comprised of flashbacks with nothing taking place in the current moment. Now, the movie's also extremely guilty of, as Jeremy Jahns said, MCUing it up. They put in a lot of humor where it didn't belong, and the film was worse for it. The movie was saturated with random celebrity cameos that didn't contribute a single thing to the story. There were borderline slapstick scenes that prevented the film from ever possessing the dramatic weight that Knives Out had, and endless gags meant to expose the true nature of these types of people that took the meta commentary to such a level that they damn near broke the fourth wall. I halfway expected Janelle Monáe to tear through the screen, climb down the Disney Plus menu, and engage directly with the writers of the film. We get it. Rian Johnson doesn't like Elon Musk, the Manosphere, Red Pillars, and those who complain about free speech online. Again, those opinions aren't the problem, and Lord knows that list of people are not exempt from satire. The problem is the fact that delivering that message to the audience took precedent over the quality of the story. Glass Onion is to mystery movies what Christian-themed Kirk Cameron movies are to family dramas. It's great if you've already bought into the primary beliefs held by the writers. It is fucking painful if you haven't. So that's the gist of the Knives Out sequel, Glass Onion. Ton of potential. It's one of those movies that I end up ranking a lot lower because expectations were so high. You had the same writer and director, you had Daniel Craig, you had an equally star-studded cast, and it was just such a big wet fart. It looked like they were trying to do something else entirely, and it didn't work. My main takeaways from this movie is that it was overly long. It had no business being 2 hours and 20 minutes. It used the unreliable narrator in an absolutely abusive way, where it was not building tension or suspense. It was just hitting you over the head with all of the things that they lied to you about in the beginning of the movie. The twists were hacky. They were reminiscent of old soap operas. I mean, some of the twists felt very much like As the World Turns, and the entire tone was way off. Now, all of that stuff, the different tone, the use of humor, the different lean of the film, even the ideological stuff, it can be forgiven if the movie's entertaining. And I experienced this as somebody who's seen all the MCU movies multiple times. I wasn't a huge fan of what they did with Thor starting in the Ragnarok movies, but even Thor Ragnarok was so entertaining. I found it to be such an enjoyable experience that I gave a pass. Just like when they recast your favorite actor, there's a point where you can kind of suspend that disbelief, you can gloss over that gap created by somebody else playing that role, and you can still have a good time. And I did that with the tonal shifts in Thor Ragnarok. But then they went into Thor Love and Thunder and just completely jumped the shark. So yeah, if you miss seeing Kate Hudson and Edward Norton on the big screen, or if you just want to listen to Daniel Craig talk for 2.5 hours in a Louisianan accent, then maybe check it out. But I would honestly wait until it comes out on Netflix. Don't go to the theater for this one. So let me know what you think. If you saw it, did you think it was as good as the first one? Leave your comments in the comment box. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.